Today's show is going to be a doozy. Before we get into it, though, let's make a deal. We're 283 subs away from 198,000 on this channel. And if we get there before Jeremy Chuggs and I go live Saturday, August 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, we're going to give away a Raiders jersey. So if you're a diehard Raiders fan and you plan on hanging out with us on Saturday, hit that big red button underneath this video that says subscribe. My name is Mitchell Renz. Y'all are watching the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, we're going to get into the Raiders practice news and notes today, but I'm going to hit that at the end of today's program. The way I'm starting this show off is with some shocking Raiders trade rumors around Trey Hendrickson, and Hendrickson's been a player that we've talked about multiple times on this show, but the way I'm about to talk about it now, it seems like there might be a little bit of smoke, and who knows, we might even get a fire trade here with Hendrickson coming over to the Silver and Black. I say that because I saw an article out there, and I saw a report from Hondo Carpenter that said that the Raiders are the, quote, front runners for Trey Hendrickson. Now, I'll say this. I haven't really seen anybody outside of Hondo really with any legitimacy link the Raiders and Hendrickson. Can I sit up here and explain why I could see a deal end up going down? Sure I can. Malcolm Koonce has struggled a little bit this offseason. The Raiders unfortunately lost Christian Wilkins. Charles Snowden is potentially facing a 3-game suspension, and this team values the trenches. All of those reasons are why I could see this deal going down. But to say that the Raiders are front runners, if you're a Silver and Black fan, if you're an NFL fan, and that term doesn't give you a little bit of a ooh, then I don't know what the hell you're doing. Here's the exact quote here, though, from Hondo, and it says this. In a conversation with an NFL executive on Tuesday, I was informed, I have no doubt the Raiders are the front runners. Tom Brady and Mark Davis want to win now, and John Spytek has no fear when it comes to making bold moves. The kid, he has Hendrickson as young, that move is the mentality of Pete Carroll. He's not afraid of anything that can improve the team. Now, I do want to say this. I personally do not think that Trey Hendrickson is young. He's 30 years old. He's going to be 31 in December. I also understand, though, that some players can play edge, can play defensive end later on in their career. I also know that this Raiders window is 2 to 3 years. With Hendrickson being 30 now, 31, 32, let's say maybe even 33. If he stays in shape, he's still going to be able to play at a high level, and I do hope that he would be able to still play at a high level, considering the fact that he just had 17.5 sacks, the fact that he's got basically 35 sacks over the past 2 seasons. Let's keep it going here, though, from the report from Hondo. When I inquired about the potential cost of acquiring Hendrickson, the executive said, quote, from what I hear, the Bengals are seeking either multiple picks or a combination of a pick and a player. They aren't particularly focused on one side of the ball, but their offense is exceptional, while their defense is poop. I would speculate that a player and a third-round pick would be sufficient to land him. So that is them saying that I speculate that a third-round pick. I do want to be very clear. I did speak about a trade with Trey Hendrickson, I want to say back on Tuesday, and I threw out the idea of, hey, if I'm the Raiders, I'm trying to get this deal done with a third-round pick, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here coming up on the show, but I want y'all to be honest with me. Do you want the Raiders to go out and trade for Trey Hendrickson? Type trade, type pass. Let me know down below. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. While you're getting hit with that YouTube ad break, please go down there and give me your answer. So whether you say trade, whether you say pass, like to me, I'm going to sit up here and go, I'll trade for him if it's the right deal, because we also have to go out there and pay him. So I think for a lot of Raiders fans, there's a few things to understand if the Silver and Black in Cincinnati were to end up making this deal happen. Here's the first thing that you got to understand. It's the asking price. And it's interesting that Hondo is throwing out there that he's hearing something in regards to a third-round pick, and that to me is what I would be willing to offer the Raiders. Though there's probably a middle ground that needs to be met, and when you hear what has originally been reported by Diana Rossini, which this one goes back on Monday, it sounds like they're asking for a first-round pick and maybe even a young defensive player. I'll be very transparent. If the Bengals think that they're getting a first-round pick and a young player, come on, man. I don't even think that you're going to get a first-round pick. I don't think that there is a single team in the National Football League that is going to give up a first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson on August 20th. It's simply not going to happen. So then let's talk about the price tag, because you got to get the asking price. I understand that. But that's not the only thing that's going on here. If you're the Raiders and you make a deal for Hendrickson, not only are you giving up trade capital, not only are you going to give up a young player, you also have to pay him. And for the Raiders, they already went out. They paid Maxx Crosby this offseason, making him the highest paid NFL player not at the quarterback position. Earlier this offseason, that happened. Now we've seen some other deals go down, like a Myles Garrett. We've seen a TJ Watt deal go down. But here's the thing. Based on the reports, it comes down to the guaranteed money for Hendrickson, but he's going to be asking for north of $30 million a year. And I don't know if he is looking for Nick Bosa type of money, 34, but what I do know is this, and I did multiple videos this offseason, and I said, if the Raiders are serious about extending Maxx Crosby, they need to do it before the Myles Garrett deal happens, before the TJ Watt deal happens, before the Micah Parsons deal happens. And if the Raiders are truly the front runners, if Spytek, Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, all these guys are serious about going out and getting Hendrickson, you need to do it before the Micah deal gets done. I don't know if a Micah deal gets done, because Jerry Jones and that Cowboys situation is, honestly, I feel bad for my guy Tom Downey, who covers this team, because they got to deal with Jerry. But also, like, if you're serious about getting Hendrickson, not that Hendrickson's going to get Micah money, but when the moment Micah does get paid, that's just going to go higher and higher amount for somebody like Trey Hendrickson. You got to think that he's going to get somewhere between $30 to $34 million per year, and based on the reports about guaranteed dollars, he wants a lot more of that guaranteed money. Let's go now to my low ball offer that I would offer Cincinnati. And I understand that it's going to take 2 to tango. I also understand that Cincinnati, their owner, I think he's actually probably the cheapest owner in the NFL. I think that's a fair thing to say. Chuck's just kind of looking at me like, yeah. And I think most people know that the Bengals owner is one of the cheapest owners in the league. So if I'm looking at him and I'm going, hey, man, I'm going to save you lots and lots of money, millions upon millions of dollars. All you got to do, though, give me Trey. I'll pay him. I'll give you a third-round pick. Again, this is a low-ball offer. This is an offer that I'm going to give a team on August 20th just in case they go into the season, because Hendrickson has made it clear he does not plan on playing this season unless he gets a brand-new deal. So that's my low-ball offer. And my low-ball offer is a low-ball offer. And if we can get it, let's go try to do it. My final offer, though, to the Bengals, and when I say probably a more legit trade offer to get this deal done, I'm going to include that third-round pick again, and I'm going to give the Bengals what they're asking for. I'm going to give Cincinnati a young player, and I'm going to give somebody that's going to help out their defense. It's not going to help them to the extent of Trey Hendrickson, but if you don't want to pay Trey Hendrickson $30 million plus a year, would you be willing to pay a player that's $12 million for this upcoming season? And that player is Malcolm Koonce. And I'm somebody where I like Malcolm, and I think a lot of y'all like Malcolm. But I also have been saying on this show for the past 2 weeks that, we haven't heard a lot about Malcolm. And he's been kind of falling behind a little bit. And I would say right now, out of the top 4 defensive linemen that I'm confident in, Malcolm Koonce does not make that list. He simply just doesn't make it. So when I think about this trade, the reason why I do this trade here is because in my mind then, we can kick we can kick Tyree Wilson to defensive tackle, who we're going to talk about a little bit today, because my guy Tyree had himself a hell of a practice. You move him to defensive tackle a little bit more. This allows then Trey Hendrickson to play on the outside. And whether you're looking at Patrick Graham, he's going to run 4-man fronts. Patrick Graham's going to run 5-man fronts. What I really want to try to illustrate here is this Raiders front 4, this Raiders front 5, because this is a very impressive front. And for a team that has the secondary that we do, we need to be able to get pressure with 4. We need to be able to get pressure with 5. So I'm doing this trade here to create this defensive line right here. And whether you want to rotate Adam Butler, Thomas Booker, Tyree Wilson, I think the beauty about this line is Maxx is going to be Maxx. Let him go out there, let him get his reps. Trey Hendrickson, let him go out there, let him get his reps. But when Hendrickson or Maxx Crosby need a breather, you put Tyree Wilson on the other spot, and then you keep the other player on that other side as well. With Adam Butler, Thomas Booker, Tyree Wilson, you can rotate that 3 defensive tackle front, and I think with Booker, with Wilson, it helps replace Christian Wilkins. It also helps Tonka Hemingway. It also helps J.J. Pegues. It helps all of these players from top to bottom, but I love the idea of being able to get Trey Hendrickson because, again, you could potentially lose Charles Snowden. You already lost Christian Wilkins, and this defensive line needs to get better. And the way that Tyree Wilson's looking at defensive tackle, I am all on board for putting him in at DT 75 to 80% of the reps, and then the other 20 is when Maxx Crosby or Trey Hendrickson needs a breather. If you want that defensive line to happen, because I'll tell you this, it's firing me up right now, hit that like button, because that's a hell of a defensive line. If this defense is going to play at a high level, we need a great defensive line. And that's a line that's going to help you do it. That type of defensive line, I don't want to say could lead the NFL in sacks, because there's a lot of good teams out there. But with Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson, that's going to motivate Max, because Max don't want to be the guy that's second on this team in sacks. And that, to me, is what competition is about. I know a few months ago I said, I don't know if I want Trey Hendrickson. The more and more reports that are coming out, the lower and lower that price tag gets. And after the Wilkins situation, with me sitting back wondering what's going to happen with Snowden, I am on board for the Raiders going out and trading for Trey Hendrickson if the price is right. Coming up next here on the show, we'll get into the Raiders training camp news that the nation needs to see today, and we'll kind of go through some of the injuries. We'll kind of go through some of the team period stuff, but a huge, huge shout out to our sponsor here, Prize Picks. And today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Preseason football is underway, and college football is here, so don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Now, for me, I'm always somebody where I want to show you guys what exactly I'm thinking, and I already have a season-long lineup in with Prize Picks. Friendly reminder, I wanted to do one that's all Raiders, but I'm not allowed because you have to pick at least 2 teams. So I have Joe Burrow for more passing yards, Maxx Crosby more than 11.25 sacks, Brock Bowers, more than 4.5 touchdowns. Ashton Jeanty, more than 1,049 rushing yards. And then Geno Smith, more than 3,495 passing yards. That was $20 to win $370. And if any of these players end up getting injured, Prize Picks, it will end up refunding your money. But ultimately, that's a lineup that I feel really flipping good about right now. And if you feel good about it too, go put your money where your mouth is. Again, I love Prize Picks because they invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching sports. Join millions of users and sign up today. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. I'm somebody where I like to sit down. I like to watch a sporting event. And I'll be very transparent. I'm not going to put 20, 50. You put $5 on a game, get an opportunity to win some money, you're going to be able to watch the game. You're going to have a good time while doing it. I promise you, I love Prize Picks. My wife actually also uses Prize Picks, so there you go. Coming up next here, we'll get into the training camp news and notes that y'all need to see today. The first one, and it's kind of the biggest one, I would say, today, Kyu Blu Kelly did not practice. Now, Pete Carroll did say it's due to a hamstring injury, and it kind of seems like a little bit more of a, we're just letting him rest. The Raiders seem very confident in Kyu Blu. That does make me nervous because hamstrings do have a possibility to linger from time to time, but he was a little bit banged up yesterday. He's right now the number 2, number 3 corner on this team, and if they are worried about him, I'm okay resting him now because he's not going to be playing in that final preseason game. Somebody that's going to end up making this roster and then keep on moving forward with Kyu Blu. Let's go to another one here. Raheem Mostert did not practice, and some people might have been wondering based on what Pete Carroll said, because when Pete was asked about Mostert, I don't remember exactly what Pete said, but he kind of gave a weird answer based on my digging, is what I'll call it. I saw Raheem Mostert on Instagram posted something about his daughter, and I believe his daughter had some sort of I think it was eye surgery, if I remember off the top of my head. But bottom line, Raheem Mostert was home dealing with some family issues. And again, when I say family issues, I believe his daughter had a procedure today, and that's just a dad being a good dad, making sure he's there for his kid. Let's go to the next one. Alex Cappa, he did actually practice today. I know he was out there on the field yesterday in pads. He dressed up, but he didn't really actually practice. Today he actually practiced, and Cappa and JPJ, they were splitting 1 reps at right guard. I'm still a little bit frustrated that this is even happening because, again, we're comparing Jackson Powers-Johnson to Alex Cappa. I think it's almost night and day, the difference. But at the same time, I understand that this battle is happening. I also need people to realize that if you're a Raiders fan, you want Alex Cappa to be healthy because we need extra interior offensive line help. Like, I don't want Cappa to be a starter, but I want Cappa to be that sixth man because that's a really good sixth man. I kind of got into it a little bit the other day with some people on social media because I was like, hey, I'm all in on Dalton Risner. Not Dalton Risner as a starter, Dalton Risner to kind of play this Alex Cappa role as a six-man offensive line. I also, in my heart of hearts, which I've been told multiple times, Mitch, got to give up on the JPJ to center dream. But the other idea about adding a guy like Dalton Risner is you let Risner compete for left guard, right guard. You put JPJ at center, and then it's Jordan Meredith, Alex Cappa, Dalton Risner competing for an offensive guard spot. If we're trying to put the best five guys out there, that to me is the better offensive line than what we have right now. Let's keep it moving here, though. Defense ran tons of nickel, and I mean tons. And you're seeing right now the Raiders move some guys around. One guy in particular is Jeremy Chinn. We know Jeremy Chinn's going to play a little bit of strong safety, but when they run this, again, I'm going to call it big nickel because the Raiders are running a nickel defense, but they got a lot of long, lanky safeties out there. But when they move Jeremy Chinn up into the nickel and they move him up into the slot, one of the players that's been getting some look is Terrell Edmunds. And Terrell Edmunds is kind of playing that role that Lonnie Johnson Jr. was playing before he ended up suffering that injury. So because the Raiders were running a lot of nickel today, I wonder if it was because they were also trying to do their best to replace. That's a hell of a picture. Is that a nickel? Oh, man. It's been so long since I've even seen a nickel. How many people, when was the last time y'all saw a nickel? If somebody handed you a nickel, I would be like, I'm not accepting this right now. I wouldn't accept it. One thing I will accept is more competition in the safety room. And Terrell Edmunds and Chris Smith today rotated. I will say Edmunds did get the first crack at being the starting, we'll call it high safety, free safety, however you want to say it in this defense. Because, again, I don't really think that we have a true starting like free safety. I think Isaiah Paul-Mal is a great strong safety. But Chris Smith did then started to get some one reps during the team period. But I thought that was an interesting note, and it's clear to me that they want a hybrid player of a Terrell Edmunds, Chris Smith to play in that big nickel because based on some of the things that I'm hearing, I am hearing that Trey Taylor's probably not going to end up making the squad, but Harper is somebody that could end up on the short-term IR where they want to keep him. They don't want to let him go, but he's probably going to be on that short-term IR with somebody like Lonnie Johnson Jr. Coming up next year, we're going to get into the team period notes from today, and not that practice wasn't like full-on. It definitely was a full-on ramped-up period, but based on some of the notes that I got, team period today was just a little bit shorter than what you typically saw. So team period notes from today, I'll get into those in a moment, but I keep saying this out loud because it's almost here, and I am super, super fired up. Basically, like 48 hours from now, I'm going to be shaking hands, drinking beers, having a good time with Raider Nation out in Tucson, Arizona. And if you're going to be out there, Friday, August 22nd from 12 to 3, I'm going to be at Desert Shark Tucson. It's an awesome restaurant owned and operated by a Raider fan that always supports the show. If you want more information on giveaways, on raffles, they're doing all sorts of stuff. Heard there's even going to be a duck race. You can follow them and DM them on Instagram at Desert Shark Tucson. Also, I plan on going to a spot right next door. It's called Culinary Dropout for some extra drinks. I'm going to be there all night. I get there in the morning. I'm leaving Saturday morning to come back here to the Chat Sports Studios because I'm going to be doing a watch party. But bottom line is, if you got nothing going on Friday, August 22nd, and you live near that address, let's have a good time, and let's talk some Raiders. All right, let's keep moving here. Team period notes. Geno Smith did hit Dante Thornton Jr. on a nice deep touchdown. And if there's one thing very clear to me, the Raiders during practice, they are trying to get that chemistry down with Dante. And you kind of saw it in the preseason game where that first preseason game, Geno threw that ball a little bit early. He had to because that pressure was coming on his left side. Dante hit him in the chest, but, it didn't end up being a completion. Then the Aiden O'Connell interception in that first preseason game, that would have been a deep touchdown throw if Aiden could throw the ball. And then also that last game against the 49ers, the two incompletions Geno had were throwing the ball down the field to Dante Thornton. I believe that the Raiders are very confident in Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, their underneath game with Trey Tucker. They just think, all right, our offense is here right now. But if we can get that deep ball, if we can get that chemistry, if we can get, it synced up with Geno and Dante Thornton, where there's a lot of different ways to throw the ball down the field. It's not just a go route. there's shoulder, like back shoulders, there's posts, and the Raiders are really, really trying to extend that ball down the field. They are trying it over and over and over again, and Thornton Jr. and Geno are working on that chemistry. Maxx Crosby today, multiple sacks. Dude was just absolutely wrecking havoc. Felt bad for DJ Glaze from time to time. I felt bad for Alex Cappa. I felt bad for that right side of the offensive line, but Max was all over the place, and him and Tyree Wilson right now are a dynamic duo. The number one winner from Raiders training camp practice today, number 9, Tyree Wilson. And you can just tell he's just so much more confident. He's just so much more comfortable from top to bottom. And it's fun to watch because even up at the podium up there, bro's up there with no shirt on, and you could just tell, like, there's a body language aspect. Go back and look at Tyree Wilson when he was talking to the media the last 2 seasons. Not saying like he looks scared, but from somebody that knows Wilson, somebody that's talked to him, he's quiet. He's like a humble giant is probably the best way that I can put it. And he was a little bit, got a little bit of swagger out there, and that's what we want to see. But he had 2-3 sacks. I heard him and Maxx Crosby were just blowing dudes up from left to right. He is doing a really good job setting the edge, but him on the interior right now, he is starting to figure it out, and he even said it. The game is slowing down. And when the game starts slowing down for somebody that's this athletically gifted, and then you got somebody like Maxx Crosby on the other side of you, good things are coming. Good things are coming. So I got to know y'all's confidence level because this is going to be one that I bet you I've asked this question at least one time this offseason. Guarantee I've asked this question one time. And I would love to know the answers from the first time I asked it compared to now. So I want you to scale it 1 to 10. 1, you're not confident in Tyree Wilson at all. 10, he was worth the number 7 overall pick. Let me know down below your confidence level, and my answer coming up here in just a second. I'm going to go with a solid 7. And the reason why that's a solid 7 is because if they told me right now that they are going to use him predominantly at defensive tackle, I would bump that number up to an 8. If you're still kind of trying to do the whole defensive end, defensive tackle thing, it's not that I think it's a bad idea. It's just he's clearly better at DT based on the skill set that he has right now. And if he's clearly better at it, I'm trying to get him out there on the field a little bit more. Let's keep it going. Chug said a 12. A 12. I freaking love it. Jamal Adams, he had himself a solid day. Also had a sack as well. But he's somebody that's just flying around the football field, somebody that brings a lot of energy. And it's like noticeable when he's out there on the field, guys are fired up. And that's a part of leadership that was so great about Jamal Adams back in his days at LSU. It's how he got the nickname President. And I know when the Raiders originally signed him, I was not happy about it. This looks like one of those moves where I'm going to be eating my words. And you know what? I got a big stomach. I'm ready to eat those words. Let's keep it moving. Devin White, I heard that he covered really well today. We've seen the linebackers really try to fly around the football, and you see it in the mock game. You saw it in the preseason. Saw it in joint practice. And again, they're trying to get north and south. And the biggest question mark that I have, that probably a lot of y'all have, is are our linebackers good enough to cover? And are they good enough to handle tight ends? Are they good enough to handle running backs in the flat? Are we good enough to be able to do a lot of those things? Devin White showed today that he is much better at covering than what I initially thought. I even had somebody sent me a few videos, and they're like, I just wanted to send this to you just so you could see that Devin's out there doing his thing. Also, I saw that they are trying to make Aiden O'Connell a little bit quicker. AOC spoke about it when he talked to the press yesterday about how the team wants him to just move things along a little bit quicker. That Pete said that he thought that AOC at times slowed the offense down. So they actually took the play clock today and they dropped it down by a few seconds. That way it's just Aiden, when he was out there on the field, had to get the play in quicker, had to get the execution in quicker. Right now, everything with AOC is let's get it quicker because Cam Miller's looking really good. And if you would have told me before the offseason started that Cam Miller was going to be quarterback too, I don't think I would have believed you. Not saying it's going to happen, but to say that it's not possible, you haven't been paying attention this offseason. Did get a note that Alex Cappa looked rusty today, and because there is that right guard battle, every day that JPJ wins, I'm hoping that the Raiders reward him. But from what I understood today, Alex Cappa looked like a right guard that hasn't been out there often. That's also, though, he's going up against Maxx Crosby, he's going up against Tyree Wilson, and they put him through the ringer a little bit. Overall, though, I was told that the defense won today and that the defense had a really solid day. They brought a lot of good energy. They had multiple sacks, and that was the big difference. Today, the Raiders' defense won because the Raiders front, their defensive line beat the Raiders offensive line. And from what I understood, there could have been 4, 5, 6 sacks in the team period, and there could have been other big-time plays. But if this defensive line can get it together, then I do think that this secondary can be a lot more interesting, because you can't deny there is athleticism in this secondary. There is length in this secondary. But to have guys cover for a long period of time because we're not able to get pressure, that's where I get nervous. If we can get pressure, this defense has a chance to be much better than I originally thought. So if you guys did not know, again, I am going to be live for Raiders Cardinals preseason week 3, and it's going to be a late game. And I'm asking to tell all your friends. Tell every single Raiders fan that you know, hey, man, pull up to the Raiders board, because I don't know if we're going to get 100,000 viewers. We've had I think it's literally like 200,000 combined viewers over our first 2 watch parties, but it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a hell of a time. And the fact that it's going to be so late, Chugs and I are down to get a little bit weird. So make sure you're subscribed. If it's a tie, I'm just going to delete the channel. So if it's a tie, I'm deleting the channel. You're going to have to go find somebody else to watch. No, I'm kidding. But seriously, NFL preseason week 3, we got to get to 198,000 subs before that. If we do, I'm giving away a jersey. If you got nothing going on Saturday night and you want to hang out with us, there's only one spot and one spot only to watch this game. It's here at the Raiders.